All right. Hi, seniors. So the counseling department wanted to congratulate you on the upcoming completion of your senior year. Since we aren't able to give you a traditional send-off, we thought it might be fun to share with you some information on what it was like for us during our senior year. So here we go.
Okay, if you had one, what was the name of your high school senior class song? Mine would be "I'm the Tiger" from the Rocky movie.
Nice.
We didn't really have a song, but I know a very popular song at the time was "One of These Nights" by the Eagles.
Oh, nah, good song.
Our senior class song was "The Long and Winding Road" by the Beatles or Paul McCartney.
We didn't have one per se for my class, but a super popular song was "TikTok" by Kesha.
And ours was "One Moment in Time" by Whitney Houston, who I just loved, and I miss her voice and her talent. She went too soon.
Yeah. Our class song was "Taking It Easy" by the Eagles as well. So Mike, you and I have the same band.
Right. A few years apart.
Years apart. Yeah.
Hey, that's Eagles.
All right. Question number 2. Share one favorite memory that you have of graduation. We had a great week leading up to graduation and the week after, whatever. But I graduated from St. Ignatius, and the president at that time was Father O'Reilly, who had been my counselor the first 2 years at St. Ignatius. And when I walked across the stage to get my diploma, he said, "Mike, move on. We don't have your diploma." And as soon as I got off the stage, my dad greeted me and said, "Mike, I knew you wouldn't graduate." So about a week later, they sent it to me in the mail.
Awesome. That's awesome. My favorite memory from commencement is just having my family and my grandparents and my great aunts with me and, waiting to hug me and celebrate. That's my favorite, my family.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar. It was good to see when I graduated, just being with my friends right after the ceremony and some hugs and knowing we were going to see each other throughout the summer as we prepared to, take the next steps.
Nice. Same thing with family. I mean, you all know how important my family is to me. And so having everybody there from everywhere was just so memorable. And my best friend and I were able to get prepared and put our robes and our cap and gown on together. And then we met everyone at the church. So to see my whole family out there was just the best.
Yeah, that was the same answer I had. My grandparents were elderly, so they very rarely came to our house or our town. We always went to see them when we visited. So having them to come to our house and everything for the whole graduation weekend was really special. Another memory was just the friends after the ceremony, taking pictures outside the building and everything was just, is still very vivid in my brain.
For me, I loved that we had our graduation and I went to Hoban, that we had it in the gym. That brought back a lot of memorable times playing sports in the gym, but just my family as well. My family being there, my friends being there, going outside afterwards and taking pictures together is the best memory I can remember.
Okay, so I have a question. If you could have a conversation with your senior self, what would be one or two things you would want your senior self to know? And so I have two small things. One is to worry less about the future and experience the right now as deeply as you can. And the second would be to look out for a mentor in a professor or an RA or a coach, or just look for somebody with whom you connect and who could give you some really good advice in those 4 years.
Awesome. I would say my advice would be to just understand that so many people you're going to meet in the next 2 years come from so many different backgrounds, and you never know who's going to end up being your best friend. So be open to that, and just be kind to everyone, and things seem to work out for the best.
I said, I tell myself not to believe those who try to dim your light and gifts so that they can feel good about their own insecurities. and to honor the gifts and talents that God has given.
Mine was what I would tell myself, my high school self, would be to be more well-rounded. I think that came for me later in college, and I wish I would have done that more in high school and earlier in college as well. So just to be a more well-rounded person.
I would tell my senior self to not forget to live in the moment, enjoy the moment and enjoy who you're with in that moment, and cherish the people around you, and always treat people well.
Oh, that's so nice.
I think I would say similar. I wish I knew how much of my life I had ahead of me at that point, and didn't worry about things so much that I could just have enjoyed that time. And the other thing, I think, as a parent now myself, I wish I would have known how much my parents really did love me and how they cared for me. So that would be what I wish I could tell myself now, back then.
Sweet.
So my question is, what global or local events were happening at the time of your graduation? So for me, a couple of things that were going on. We were preparing for the World Cup, which Spain won. LeBron James was making the infamous decision from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those were some of the bigger things going on there. The economy was finally starting to recover after a pretty big dip previous years, and the iPhone go up and get big. So that's what was going on when I was graduating.
Oh, okay. So globally, Nelson Mandela was released from prison after 27 years in South Africa. Iraq invaded Kuwait. The Simpsons made their debut. The Berlin Wall came down, and then a hole was discovered in the ozone layers. But locally, my class was boys' class, and so we would be merging with our brother school down the street, St. Joe. So it's now the VA St. Joe's. We were originally VA and St. Joe separately. And then that was the year too. And I told my senior advisor that 3 of our friends, football players, in a car crash right before graduation. So that was pretty tough. But there were some good things that happened too. So.
For me, George or Mr. Wright, I guess we must have graduated the same year, because that was mine. The iPhone came out my senior year. Not that I had one. I didn't have one for a really, really long time. But that's when the iPhone, Steve Jobs had the big release of the iPhone, and I mean, literally might have been one of the biggest things that's changed our world and our students' world was that iPhone. So pretty cool.
Well, I have a couple. First, Microsoft released Windows 2.1. Made me feel old. And my basketball team that year won state, so that was exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's see. Globally, the Cold War was in full swing, and so there were a lot of protests in the U.S. against for various missile treaties, and then against various missile treaties. So it was kind of intense, and that's when Ronald Reagan started to come to the forefront. Gerald Ford was president, and he had just ended the Vietnam War. So it was just a very contentious time. There were still a lot of protests going on. What else? I believe Apple was founded that year, Apple Computer and all that. And I think Saturday Night Live had its first show that year, if I remember.
Nice.
I wasn't allowed to watch it though. I was grounded, I think.
In my senior year, I think President Jimmy Carter was working on getting the hostages from Iran, but President Reagan was elected. It all didn't work out as well as Carter had hoped. Michael Jackson was huge, and continued for a long time. Brian Syke was the quarterback of the Browns, and they were the Cardiac Kids, and I loved him and them, the Browns. I don't remember anything else from 1981. It was a hard year for sure. I mean, it was definitely politically difficult, but it was a fun year for me.
Okay, so next question is, did you have a favorite teacher, and if so, why? And I did. I really liked Mrs. Bauer Blazer. That was her name. She taught psychology and history. The way that she delivered the information and her teaching style, that's what inspired me to get my doctorate in clinical psychology. So it's because of her class.
Nice. So my favorite teacher was Mr. Forgy. He was our freshman head football coach, but he also taught junior English. So he was really hard on us as freshmen, and then you got him as a junior, and he loved, everybody, and just the way he taught and the way he was able to convey the information to me really connected, and I think really helped me, throughout my high school career, going into senior and then college.
Okay, so my favorite teacher was Mr. Karabulad. Mr. Karabulad actually worked at Walsh first, and then he was at Hoban. So he was the head football coach, and he was my sophomore geometry teacher. And anyone who's talked to me about different subjects, math was my worst. I did so well in his class. He was just such a phenomenal teacher. He cared. He was a great football coach. He was just a great motivator. I mean, we were just drawn to him. We would have our pep rallies, and he would give these speeches. He drove in the gym in his Harley one day. For another one, he dove off the balcony in a Superman costume. He just was a great motivator, so he would definitely be my favorite teacher.
I have really three favorite teachers, I believe. So Father O'Reilly, I already mentioned, who was my counselor the first 2 years, and I was one of 5 or 6 kids that were lucky enough to have him, but he had to give us up after sophomore year because he couldn't do both, being president. And then Father Bob Welsh, who ended up becoming president after that, he was my counselor for the final 2 years. And I credit both of those two men with really encouraging me to go into high school education. And I was going to teach, but then I think I got afraid of standing in front of the kids every day, students every day. And that's how I got into fundraising, development director. They were both master fundraisers, both those Jesuits. And then Ann O'Donnell, Miss O'Donnell, she was a teacher, taught history, AP history. And she got me very involved in social justice issues and activities at St. Ignatius.
Okay, my favorite teacher's name is Ken Cherick. He doesn't teach anymore, but he was my calculus teacher, and I had him for math analysis junior year. He made math so interesting, so doable, so fun. I mean, he was serious and he was tough and he was hard, but he made me love math. So I am definitely indebted to Mr. Cherick.
So because I have so many teachers still in the building, I'm going to limit mine to my retired teachers to avoid hurting some feelings. But 2 teachers that really stuck out to me that I absolutely loved. One was Mr. Struby, who taught me math as a junior. Just made math so much fun and made everything so clear. And as well as Senor Benton, who I had for Spanish 2, 3, and History of Science. Really kept outside the box approach and made the units fun. So I really appreciated both of those teachers greatly.
All right, so our last question, what activities were you involved in during your senior year? I was involved in football, wrestling. I was also vice president of our senior class. And that was pretty much it, probably, if I can remember.
The activities I was involved in were volleyball, basketball, and softball, and also was retreat leader on a couple retreats.
Well, here's my yearbook from 1976, and if you look in the back of the senior comments, my senior comment was Gladstone had a bed at Ignatius. That's what the seniors said about me. It wasn't because I slept in class all the time. I may have done that on occasion, but I spent hours upon hours at school. I was there at 5, 6, 7 o'clock every night, involved in everything I could get my hands on, from the canned food drive to the campus ministry team to social justice to student scholarship drive, whatever. And so I just loved every minute of it.
I was also in student government. I was also vice president, and I loved it. We did a lot of, we did fundraising and planned dances, but we also did a lot of volunteer work and organization, and that was probably my favorite senior class activity.
I was involved in, I was on the golf team, played hockey, and also played lacrosse. So I was very involved with the athletic department, much like Ms. Sturm.
The main activity I was involved in, I was the captain of the track team. And that was the year, I was a sprinter. So that was the year I advanced to state for the 200-yard dash. And I had to decide whether I was going to go to prom or go to state. And prom won out. That was with my gut. I didn't want to have any regrets.
Oh, wow.
Now, my dad and my coach were not happy. They got a tough weekend. But I don't regret it at all. It was a tough decision. It was hard to make, but I have no regrets. I'm glad I went to prom.
Great.
Well, class of
You can run anytime, you know.
Right, exactly. That's right.
I just want to say to the class of 2020 that you have a very unique senior year. And I hope that you, while it's kind of, you might not like it now, that you look back and you use it in your future to make you strong and unique. And, you know, hopefully that this molds you guys to be a strong class as you kind of go through college and out into the world. So congratulations. We're very proud of you. And you guys are going to do great things.
Congrats.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Guys. Thank you.
Love you.
Courage and God bless.
Class of 2020, congratulations.
Woohoo.
You're the best. You guys are going to be awesome. You guys are going to be incredible.
Just so glad to throw his hat.